Hello, can you hear me?
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yep, I
Oops.
can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you great, thanks.
Awesome. Let's see, 1, 13, 20, 21. All right. Dude. So, how's your week been?
My week's been, my last few weeks has been really good. The reviews you did for me in that time have been fantastic. I've learned a lot. My OGS rank doesn't seem to well reflect my improvement, and I realize I probably shouldn't focus on it. The
Mm-hmm.
funny thing is, when the OGS rank improves, I think, oh wow, I'm doing great. And then when it goes backwards, it can be a bit depressing. But I
Mm-hmm.
realize that I'm playing better. I feel I'm playing better. Um, when I've got spare time and I don't have enough time for a proper game, I often play either Tasumi on my iPad or actual games against a bot on there.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm levels better than I was even 3 weeks ago. So I know I'm improving. Um, uh, and I'm playing more than 20 ranked games a week. So that's good. But I've got quite a few things I would like to discuss, even though
Mm-hmm.
you've already explained them. Um, so will we get into that, or do you want to look at a game first?
No, let's answer your questions first.
Okay, so I'm often starting off okay, I think. I'm usually figuring out what I'm supposed to do in an opening. There's a few
Mm-hmm.
situations where I don't know what to do. Like uh, if um, if there's an open corner and I've got a black on one side and a white on the other, I'm not sure which side I should play on. Now I have watched your videos on that subject, but I'm still struggling with direction of play.
Okay.
So that's one thing. The other is if I build myself a good opening, I'm also struggling to hold my opponent back. You know when you try and hold water in your hand and it slips
Mm-hmm.
through your hand if you don't cup it properly? Like,
Well, don't forget that the middle game is the toughest part.
yeah, and that's
So
where I'm losing.
that's where the game's going to be decided. You don't just because you have a better opening doesn't mean you're going to win the game. It's decided by the middle game and end game. The opening is almost never deciding the game. It just sets you up to
Yeah,
have a higher chance.
yes,
do you have a game where
yes,
you had an
I
advantage
do.
and you lost it?
I think so. So I've got two to go through
Okay.
here. I'll just post it on the chat so everyone can um, see
Alrighty.
it. Can you see that one?
Yep. Got it.
Great. Now I'm going to open up my uh, review of that.
Hold on. Let me review this game. All
Review
right. Are you on
started.
the review?
I'm just waiting for it to come up. Yes, now I am.
All right. So let's answer your first question first. So if to clarify, you're saying when you approach, you don't know if you should be playing like A or B.
Correct. Yes.
Okay. So this is actually a lot simpler than you might think. Um, when you have the situation, a really easy thing to do is imagine that the approach isn't there. Now, which side is bigger, A or B? In this
A
case,
is bigger.
well,
Yeah.
no, they're actually completely
Oh,
equal.
oh,
So
okay. Right.
because the difference is I'm a star point, and star point, right? So A and B are
Okay.
completely even. So this could be up to your preference if you want to play A or B. But let's throw another example. Let's say we've already been playing stuff, blah 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 blah, and your opponent approaches here. Do you want to play A or B? Well, let's say B. B's right here because you have a low stone at C.
Yeah.
Um,
So can I give you my logic on what I was doing? You can tell me how
mhm.
wrong it is. Or so I used to play A because I was thinking I don't want to let my opponent have that whole other side. But then I figured out if I play B, I'm only one step away from enclosing almost that whole top.
Mm-hmm.
So, but so I'm tending now to play B, whereas I used to play A.
Uh, that is correct locally, but globally, we want to ask ourselves which one is the open side. And then we want to play it because remember, Josekis are tools. What are our
Yes.
goals? Our goal is to open corners, open sides. So we want a tool that lets us go to that open side. So in this case, the Clossi approach tells us that we should pincer. because the if we just pretend that stone's not there, the right side is bigger than the top side. So
Yes.
I would choose a pincer. And
Okay.
these are the basics, right? This is a move because sometimes you'll want a position like this or something, right?
Right.
There are, and because you have a third line stone, the top's already settled. There are ways that you can do the other stuff. It's just we have to start with something. So I don't want to tell you that B is bad. But according to the Clossi approach, you go for the open side first. So you would choose this one. Now here's another question. Do you want to choose the A or B? Because this is
Well,
a
I've been choosing B in that case.
yes, because it faces the open side, right? So
Ah,
it's
okay.
consistent direction of play. And this is why this one's more common, unless you were making a massive moyo, in which case you're not because it's shoulder hit, blah blah blah. But there are other rules to it. But for simplicity's sake, we just start with which one's the open side. Play the Joseki that goes that way. Okay,
Okay.
that's the simple rules, and then we add on exceptions when we make certain global combinations. But when you're just learning Josekis and stuff, you don't want to worry about gigantic like combinations and reading and calculating and all that stuff. You just want something simple. The simple thing is which one's the open side. Pick the Joseki that goes that
Y-
way.
Okay. Yep. So I know the Clossi approach is meant to be simple,
Mm-hmm.
but it's very nuanced, and it actually takes a while to figure out in each of the different scenarios where it's best to play to actually adhere to it.
Yeah, if I could write a document that made Go easy, I think everyone would read that thing.
Of course, that's right.
The goal of the Clossi approach is mostly to simplify the game as much as possible to give us general directions. Because I
Yep.
could be asking, do you want A, B, C, D, E, F, G, or Tanuki? Right? Um, Go is really free in that sense that you can do so many things. But for
Yes.
a beginner, it's very overwhelming. All right, you have to be like, okay, there's too many options. I need to like simplify it. The Clossi approach is really great at doing that and narrowing down the options is something that we can actually think about and give us some sort of direction to start. And then we expand on that direction as we get stronger. We add more and more and more options for ourselves. But all of these options I just pointed out are technically legitimate moves for black. Um, but because there's so many moves and because Go is so free in that sense, it can be just overwhelming. And so that's why
Yep.
I say simple in the sense of there's only two options. Uh, for the Clossi approach, there's only like one or two options. But for as you get stronger, you'll find that Go opens up more and more and more and more variations for you, and it just becomes more and more free the stronger you get. The reason the Clossi approach may feel restricting sometimes is because it's trying to get you to start out playing decent moves so you don't get lost.
Yep.
So that's why I call it simple because I'm
Yep.
simplifying a lot of other stuff into some bare bones easy rules to follow. I say easy rules to follow, but like if you could do it just by reading it, you would already be like one done, right? So it does take practice, and it's not easy, but the words are easy if that makes sense. It's just
Yeah. That's
it's
good.
understanding the wording. If you can word it in your head, it'll be easier to figure out like during the game. So that's why I always like stress wording. I always try to stress the exact terminologies, the right go terms, the right direction choices. Because if I can word it correctly, then all I have to do is figure out what moves do those words, and that's kind of the tricky part. But it's
Yep.
important that we understand the goal of the turn first, and then we can find the moves that do that goal. And so that's why I
Yep.
simplify it down to all this other stuff of just saying,
Yep.
let's just play open side and define what an open side is, the widest side that doesn't have a stone on it, not including the approach. Um,
Yep.
and once I have that definition, then I just think, okay, what tools do I have that do that? Well, I have a one space pincer Joseki or a two space
Yep.
high pincer Joseki. And
Yep.
that's how I arrive at my conclusions. Is
That's awesome.
I'm just trying to simplify the game for myself so I don't get overwhelmed because there's so
Yep.
many things in Go. And Go is not
Yep.
an easy game. So that's does that kind of answer your question and give you an understanding of like why I say
Yep.
one side over the other?
It does. It definitely does. That's very helpful. And I didn't realize that when you say open side, you ignore the approach move. Like
Well,
I just missed that.
the reason is white's the one who chose that was the direction to play. Okay, so
Ah,
white's saying the right side is the open side, so white played it. And you should agree. If white's correct, then you should agree and say, yes, I agree, the right side is the direction to play. So kind of the person who plays first is the one who's making a statement that side's the open side. But let's say white played this one, and you're like, white's saying the top side's the big move. And I'm saying, no, I disagree. You should have played the right side. Well, now I'm going to play the right side. So that also I'll
okay.
choose this Joseki. So it's I say ignore it, but it's mostly that this is the turn you choose it on, not on this turn. At this turn, you're saying what Joseki direction do I want, and you more should be consistent with the direction of play that was already there, which was the right
Yep.
side. Um, so that's kind of when I would choose this.
Yep.
For
Great. Before we go on,
Yep.
sorry, you mentioned tanukiing before. That's
Mm-hmm.
the other thing I'm having troubles with is um, in a lot of your streams, you say how important it is to finish Josekis.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if my opponent leaves a Joseki half done and tanukis, then I'm a bit conflicted whether I finish what my opponent started or if I then deal with
Okay, so
what
I have
my
a rule.
opponent's
I
moving
have a
to.
rule of thumb for that. If your opponent ignores a weak group or a Joseki or something like that, and it's not something that you ignored that you just didn't realize they were strong or something, but they ignored something was supposed to be finished. Like let's say I played this and they ignored, right?
Right.
It's true that you can do this at stronger levels, but at this level, it's not recommended. So my advice for this is play one more move, and if they ignore again, then ignore. So that way, whenever they come back to this area, you will have 3 moves onto their one. So yeah, they will get advantage on the rest of the board, blah blah blah, but you will always have advantage in that section. So you can always go play. You just
Okay.
go play the next move or whatever, right? And then
Okay.
eventually that section should become large enough that one of you should get back to it. And when you get back to it, you should just kill it. Or if your opponent gets back to it, you will just have the advantage with all the stones. Right? That's the idea. So the rule of
Okay.
thumb to clarify is if they ignore something, spend one move to punish, and if they ignore a second time, then either you're going to kill it or you're going to just tanuki because you don't want them to get 3 tanukis.
No.
3
Yep.
tanukis is worth more than whatever you're fighting over, most likely. This is not always
Yep.
true, but 3 tanukis is usually too many. So if they tanuki, spend one move to punish, and they tanuki again, then you can tanuki. But if you spend one move to punish and they respond, then you should just, have punishment. Now here's the pitfall. Here's the mistake. What if you play a move like you play Hichanukis and then you play a move like here? Well, you're gonna, and then they get another one, and then you say, well, I Tanuki and I did what you said, but he still got like a lot of value later, and I never really got any profit from it, or I never really got any value. That's when you bring it to me and say, hey, or get a game review or something, and say, hey, why did I not get value when I had 3 moves on them? And then I'll tell you, well, 12 didn't actually do anything to 9. You should play here.
Yes.
So that's
Yes.
when you learn how to punish. But
Yep.
if you don't respond, then we can't see that the teachers or the reviewers or whatever can't see that you don't know the response. They only see that you ignored, and they're like, "No, you should have responded."
Yep.
Um,
Now, in
so
that punishment, sorry, I should let you finish. Sorry.
no, it's fine. I'm just trying to clarify the point that you should try to punish and mess it up, and then learn how to punish correctly. But don't just don't give 3 Tanukis.
Okay.
Now, what was your question?
So you moved then to punish at Q14.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I've been deliberately trying not to touch. So in
Um,
that case, you touched.
if you play here, I mean, it's fine. It's not super important at this level to worry about the exact move, as long as you do something that gives you the advantage. So when you're saying punishment, I'm kind of roughly translating that to gaining an advantage in this area. So
Yes.
to me,
Okay.
that is a good enough punishment. Like even if you did this
Fine.
one, sure at Dawn level this is a bad move, but at like 19Q, I mean I don't really care. As long as you
Yep.
get profit for your moves. As long as you get value for your moves, that's good enough to get you to single digit Q, and then you just fine tune it to get done. So as long
Okay.
as you're doing something like this, you could do this, you could do this, you could do this, you could do this. As long as you do
Right.
something to that stone because he ignored it, that's good enough. And then as you get
Yeah.
stronger, you'll learn more and more moves. But this is a common shape. It's just more single digit Q than double digit Q.
Yeah.
Um,
It makes sense, and that's naturally because it's a one space jump from Q16, right?
yeah.
So that's
Um,
nice.
and more has to do with the pattern like this, where a third line jumps to the fourth line with a three space. We
Yeah.
know all these variations quite well, like
Uh,
this one and this one,
right.
but that's more single digit Q stuff. That's why I'm
Okay.
playing this move. And honestly, I should be playing this move. And that's a whole new can of worms, right? That's a whole new reason of why do you play this move? Well, it's because 9 is light and you can sacrifice it and all this other stuff, blah blah blah. So I'm trying to make the position bigger so it's harder for white to sacrifice it. It gets more and more complex as you get stronger. But
Right.
the
Got it.
simple answer is for your original question is if they ignore it, spend one move to punish it. If they ignore again, then you Tanuki as well. Don't give them
Fine.
three Tanukis.
Excellent. Got it.
But okay. So with that, do you have any other questions?
No, that's enough for now. That's awesome.
All right. So let's go ahead and look at the game. Now, in this game, you said you got a lead, and then you struggled to keep
Well,
it.
um, I think I made a positive start according to the Clossi approach. You'll probably tell me where I messed up, but I thought I did it right.
Joseki's here. You exchange the slide first because the slide is his base and your base. So remember the slide has to do with bases. That's why you go on the second line. Okay.
Okay.
Not the big video. Fourth line when you have support on both sides. And yeah,
Yep.
so here you would choose this Joseki. Okay, so this is a big move. That's fine. Okay, so now you're at largest framework.
I really have trouble with framework still. Like, I've watched a lot of your videos on framework, and I'm still struggling with it. Sorry.
It's probably for just the simple lines. It's blacks, so you could reduce.
Okay.
There's also this one. So let's just talk about your move, right? So I think
Yeah.
top side is probably bigger for definition wise, but you played the bottom left. So you said the bottom left is the one that's bigger, and you're also I think playing defense, which is fine.
But aren't we still making a base? Isn't that the idea of this move?
Yeah.
Like,
So
still?
defense wise, this is fine. This is enough to get you to 16 Q. That's fine.
Okay.
But if I yeah, this is probably good enough to get you single digit Q, honestly. But if I play here, I'm making it harder for black to take my base, and I'm getting control of the area. And this also creates a combination with punishing that fourth line. And you can see that this actually creates a very nice combination with everything. That's the other argument.
Okay.
If you don't see that, that's fine. If you want to make your base, I'm not going to tell you not to make a base because that's honestly the
Right.
number one leading weak groups for double digit Qs is not having a base. So if he goes here
Yeah.
and you make your base, I'm not going to really complain about that. I was just showing you other ways to do it. So okay, you make your
Awesome.
base. So let's say he plays here. Okay, now do you play the top side? Because now you're like, there's no defense, so now it's big move, and you do. Okay, so that's actually perfect. I was misunderstanding why you played here, but when you explained it that you were making a base, I'm fine with that. And so yeah, up to here is really good. That's fine. I don't like playing in the center though.
I was trying to make it so I could do a base either side, even though it would be a
Yeah, but
squishy
because there's not
F17.
because you can't on this because you can make one, but you can't make the other one a two space. If you could, then it'll be fine, but you can't because you don't want to touch. So in this case, it's okay. It's okay. It's not my favorite, but you can just jump up. The other option is normally approach a fourth line stone, but there really isn't one. So
Yeah.
it's okay. It's not the end of the world. I do kind of like a reduction though, just simply because that follows more of our basics. If we don't have our basic invasions, then why not just build an influence, or maybe
That's good.
and build that influence.
Yeah. I was still in base making mode, trying to squeeze a base in.
Well, here's the thing: do you need a base? for any of the stones on the board right now.
Well, I don't have anything in the top, and I like to have stuff everywhere, right?
Yes, but you can't make a base if the stone doesn't exist yet.
Right.
So shoulder hits are moves that don't really need a base until after they start getting surrounded. They just need escape routes. So limiting yourself to only moves on the third line is not very flexible. So don't
Yeah, and
forget
that's what
that.
I've been
So
doing. Yeah.
bases are more of a when they take when they threaten to take a base or when they take a base, you need to recognize it. So that's like a kind of like a trigger, but it's not what you're thinking about if you don't need it. What you should be thinking about is largest framework. What is our shapes for the largest framework? Well, there's shoulder hits, their capping moves, blah blah blah, and so that you play that shape. And then when there's a weak group on the board, that's when you start thinking about bases and all for your defense stuff. So bases are for defense and offense. You're not thinking about defense and offense on this turn. So why are you thinking about bases? Bases aren't in big moves, technically.
Yeah, I'm still thinking getting bases is the opening. So I might be wrong, but my
Bases are
idea was
attack and defense, not the opening. That's a misunderstanding of clarification, because you need your bases for weak groups, but
yes.
bases aren't big moves. Bases aren't like a lot of points. They're just safety. So that's why bases are not big moves. So that's not the opening. The opening is like big moves, like open corners, open sides, and then largest frameworks middle game. So bases are attack and defense. So that's probably the
But
misunderstanding.
yeah, so my whole driver in my opening is to make sure I get some bases. I thought that was the idea,
Well, you want
to
to
work
move
from.
around the board, and then you want to make your bases if you need them. So let's take just a common approach. So I approach the corner. Okay, I'm playing a big
Yes.
move. I play an approach. He plays. Okay, now I want to play another big move, right? But wait, I just ignored a weak group. And what is more important than big moves? It's weak groups. So now you go to defense mode, not big move mode.
Okay.
So you switch gears. So you slide, and then make your base. Okay, and now you have your
Yep.
base. Let's say he does something silly. Now you have your base. So
Oh,
now you have your base, so you don't need defense anymore. So we're back to big move. Open corners, done.
okay.
Open sides, let's make an open side. That's the order of operations. It's not that you're playing a base because it's the opening. It's you're playing a base because you got a weak group next to your opponent's stone. So
I, I didn't realize that. That's great. So the bases appear because you're trying to play on open sides or open corners, and you need to defend a weak position, and you do
yes,
that by making a base. So a base is a side effect of you taking these open sides or corners.
more or less, yeah. Basically, we're giving ourselves weak groups to get control of an area or to destroy an area, and then we go into defense mode after we give ourselves that weak group. We can handle one weak group. We have plenty of basics for that.
Yes.
It's multiple weak groups that we
Yes.
can't handle.
Right.
So that's why we go in an area, we approach a corner. And technically, our approach, I mean, he plays here. Guess what? We can't make a base. So what do? We dive into the 3-3 because there's eyes there. And we're playing defense. And that's how we arrive at this Joseki. You could also
Right.
arrive at this Joseki. You're saying I don't have a base, I'm gonna run away. You could arrive at this Joseki. I just usually don't show this one because this one's more complex. I'm just like just 3-3 for a base. Uh,
Okay.
so um,
Well,
does that
this is really, really good because now I've clarified a really big misunderstanding. I was thinking bases is the opening, and now you've just explained to me something I was missing. So thanks.
awesome? Yeah, bases are just defense. It's just when you make the weak group in the opening, you immediately defend it, and then you go play another big move. That's the idea.
Okay, got it.
Okay, so this is fine. Don't touch. That's not a base. Touching. If you have to touch, that's gonna give your opponent more stones to surround you with. So that's why I said that's not
Yeah,
a two space. So in this
yeah.
case, you can't make a two space without touching. So just run away. Just jump, 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 jump.
Okay,
So this one's gonna be too good for your opponent. He goes here, here, and then here, and you see you make the corner stronger, and you still have to run away.
okay, got it.
Here actually, Now he's the one who's touched and ignored. So now he has 3 liberties. So now this would be perfect. Ta-da! You're alive. So Hane under is actually really nice for stealing, or maybe getting some eyes. So that's second line stuff. Don't push from behind. Well, I want to say Knight's move to get ahead because don't push from behind, but I think this one's cuttable, so I guess it's okay.
I was thinking base mode still, right? So.
Well, no, now you're in runaway. Because
well, maybe I should have been in runaway, but what I was doing was thinking, oh, good, I can now make sure I get a base because
okay,
I was pretty sure I could with the 3 in a row.
Thinking that is one thing, but your moves are not saying that. Bases don't go up. Bases go sideways on the third line. So your moves are going up. That's running away. So you're not expanding your ice base on the third line, which is a base. You're moving up, which is run away. So even though you think you're making a base, you're not.
Yes.
You should be still running away.
Okay.
And yeah, second line is usually red flags, and the only time second lines are not red flags is when you're stealing something, right? When you're thinking about stealing ice space or something. Second line for like a base is kind of like the wrong definition. Second line is not efficient, so that's not base. That is step 3 ice base. So this is saying you're at step 3. That's incorrect.
Which I'm thinking the base for ice space. So I was thinking, oh my gosh, I'm in trouble here.
Yeah. So remember that base is efficient ice space. Ice space can be step 2 or step 3. Efficient ice space is step 2, which is a base. But non-efficient ice space, like second line or just 2 points at a time, that's step 3. And you want to run away before step 3.
Yep.
Okay, so this is good. You're jumping out. All right, he plays in there, so no big deal. This is not Joseki. Do you know the 3/3 Joseki?
I'm not very good with 3/3 Joseki. I've tried a bunch of different ones.
So I really encourage you to play out the 3/3 Josekis because they're so common. It's very important that you learn them.
I watched a video you released just this week on it, and I thought, my gosh, I really need to know that.
Yeah, so this is the 3/3 Joseki. All right, that's that one, and you can extend one more for safety, and that's fine. There's also the double Hane, and you don't really need to know the double Hane. You just need to know the response for white in case your opponent does it to you. It's just Atari and capture the stone, and you survive on the side, and they lose the corner. Just move up. And then there's the other ones. Don't worry about these. Just if they do it, just expand your ice space. Simple as that. All you're doing with your moves is expanding the ice space in the corner. But you see how black's constantly surrounding white in that. So here, when you play, you are not surrounding, you're going to the second line. You should be playing a Hane.
Right, okay.
And then do.
Yes. Yes, I would have been in a good position if I did that. That's true. Yes.
Yeah, this is the Joseki when you have a large knight's move.
Okay.
And yeah, black lives in the corner, you get thickness. A simpler way would have been just to do that, and then to Nikki.
Yeah, I was confused about direction of play. I'm trying to think of direction of play, and I'm really struggling with it.
This one isn't really direction of play, because there's no open side. Both sides are taken, right? So this one's just a matter of safety and going to the next big move. So where's the biggest framework, kind of? And if the biggest framework was on the bottom, I would play here. If it was on the left, I'd play here. But technically, I think it's on the right. So I just want to settle quickly and go to the right, or something like that, right? That's kind of the idea. I just want to finish it and go to the next thing because there isn't really a direction here. But just Joseki. It doesn't really matter here because the direction didn't matter. So just play a Joseki. But I don't like that you went to the second line. It means you're not playing Joseki. And don't make a base with a touch. That's kind of a blunder. So I'm going to make.
That's the second time I've tried that this game. Yes.
Don't make a base with a touch. And bases are not on the second line, and moving stones up is running away, not making a base. Okay, just
Very
one clarification.
Good. Thanks.
Yeah. Now it looks like
Now,
you're
when you
the
say don't push from behind, was that a push? Was I pushing from behind? Is that what that is?
this one.
No, just then the move at G4.
Yes, but you're not pushing from behind is good for your opponent, so you want to avoid it if you can.
Yes.
If you have to push, then
Yes.
you have to push, right?
Right.
But just know that it's a good shape for your opponent, so only do it if you have to.
Okay.
Which is why the armpits move is bad actually, because
Okay.
if you recall here, I always tell everyone don't play the armpit, play a one space jump, because the armpit, guess what that leads to? Pushing from behind.
It leads to that.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay.
Which leads to a double hane, which you'll learn as you get stronger, but it leads to bad shape. So don't do that. That's why you play one space away. You play the basic shapes, which leads to good results. If you play bad shape, it leads to complex results that are not good for you, or something. It just gets you out of your comfort zone. It gets you out of the area that you know what to do with, and then bad things happen. So that's why we play good shapes. So here I wouldn't push from behind. I play a knight's move to get ahead.
Yes.
And only play that when the cut doesn't work.
Okay.
If the cut worked, I would push from behind. But it doesn't work, so I'm going to play knight's move. Okay, so he played defense. He plays here. What's this one?
It's an attacking move that's cuttable that I shouldn't have played.
Wait. Are you attacking or defense?
Away, right?
Are you defense or attacking?
I should have been running away, but I was thinking, I want to push black into that side.
Well, let's talk about that.
Yes,
first
please.
off, you are playing defense, so you should be playing a jump. So you're saying push black into the side. If you're saying push black, that means you're attacking. Because if you are pushing, that means he's going to have to respond to you. And if he's alive, he doesn't have to respond to you. So, do you think black is attackable?
No, but I didn't want to lose. I didn't want him to walk through and take the whole middle with one space jumps. I was trying to stop him taking that line, that K line.
Okay, so you don't want him to make jumps, right? Why? What do the jumps do?
Well, it splits the whole board, and I can't see how I'll have enough territory eventually to be able to win if he does that line down the middle.
Okay, so what is the value of the line?
The value of the line is it means I'm going to have two separate groups that have got his space around his line.
Okay. So you think his line is going to reduce your positions?
Yes, doubly reduce because it's on both sides.
Why not make the positions bigger or just shoulder hit? Something on your positions. If he's trying to push your positions, if he's trying to reduce your positions or something, then why not just block the positions?
Okay. So are you saying that it's okay to let him just walk down and take the K line?
Well, I'm saying that if you're worried about him doing this, then why don't you just prevent the value that he'll get from doing it?
Okay. But I can't do that because then I'll be I still need to run away on.
I'm trying to word it around to you should just play on the biggest framework if you're playing a big move.
Okay.
So you're trying to say I'm pushing my opponent because of positional value. Positional value has to do with largest framework, right? So if we get back to that wording of largest framework, then why don't you just play on the largest framework? Right? This is not the largest framework. So the largest framework automatically takes care of them getting value or not getting value.
I see. Okay.
Now, with that being said, you're trying to push this stone to the right.
Yes.
So that looks like you're trying to attack the top, but he has a base, so that's not an attack. You're also
Right.
missing that if you are playing on this group, that means you're saying it's weak. If you're playing on the weak group, then you should be playing defense, which is a one space jump.
Yes.
Now, so it's not defense, it's not offense, so it can only be big move, right? Because he has a base, you're not connected, so it's not defense, it's not offense. So it can only be a big move. And you were saying that you were worried about some line, right? So you have to think, where's the largest framework? And it's probably the right side or the top right. So you can build the right while reducing the top right, and that would be better.
Okay, got it.
So if you have to really clarify, are you playing defense? Are you playing offense? Are you playing big move? And you have to really, if you can make that clarification, your moves become so much more accurate, I guess. Simply because you have to think, what basics do I do for that goal? If I'm playing big move, then largest framework. Who has the largest framework? If you're worried about him going down, why not play a capping move? If you think the bottom is the biggest framework, why not play a capping move?
So I looked at that, but then that's an elephant's, like an elephant's jump or whatever it's called, right? He could just walk through with J12. So I thought about that.
We can deal with one weak group. We have jumps. We have knights moves. We can deal with one weak group. So an elephant's eye is very common with a capping move, and an elephant's eye is not bad at all, unless we are running with an elephant's eye, or we're getting two weak groups when he cuts through. That's when it's bad. So when he plays right here, all you have to do is just run away, and ta-da! You stopped the area that you were worried about. I don't agree that this is the biggest area, but this is what accomplishes your goal.
Right. Oh, that's good. So I was afraid of doing the elephant's eye, thinking that was going to cause problems, without realizing that it's only one weak group and I can then run away and do what I wanted to do. But having said all of that, I should have focused on the largest framework, which wouldn't have required that move anyway.
Yeah. I think, depending on your judgment, I would want to see A or B.
Okay.
But the reason I'm kind of like doing these back and forths with you is to try to say, okay, clarify what your goal is, and let's talk about the shapes to accomplish that goal. Then we'll also talk about, is that goal the correct goal or not, right? So it's understanding two things. One, do I have the right goal? And two, am I doing the shape that accomplishes my goal? That's what you have to learn, and that's what we're working on.
Yeah, and that's the difference between a review and a lesson, because we can have this exchange, right?
You're right, exactly. Now, the one thing I do want to clarify is capping moves are quite common in the Clossi approach. And elephant's eye are also quite common. The response to an elephant's eye is usually just the knight's move.
Yes.
And if you're worried about the cut, then a 1-point jump or something. So don't be afraid of the elephant's eye, unless you're playing it for defense or something. That's when it's bad. It's like playing a knight's move. Elephant's eye, knight's moves, hanes, those are all cuttable. But if you're not playing it for defense, if you're playing it for big moves or attacking or something, then they don't have time to cut. Or you can handle the cut, right? So don't be afraid of cutting points when you're playing the big move. You don't just be afraid of cutting points when, let's say, you're playing defense or you get cut off in their area or whatever. But that's why this move looks strange to me. It's kind of got many things wrong with it. And I wanted to clarify each of the points.
I'm really glad you did.
All right, so weak group, Nobi here. Okay, I would rather Nobi here. So the difference is I'm going to Nobi in the direction that pressures A, so that way he has to defend, and then I can run away as well. So if I can run while attacking, I'm going to run that way. So if I have the choice of playing A or B, I'm going to do the one that defends me as well as pressures my opponent. But I mean, it's fine. As long as you play defense, it's not the big move.
I chose A because I felt it was closer to safety on the base on the right.
You're correct, and this one is more single-digit Q than double-digit Q. I'm just giving you some more ideas to think about. This one's not that big of a deal. You played defense, you did basic. This is defense, you played basic. This is offense, and you have a weak group in the center. And we know it's a weak group because it's not connected, it's near Blackstones, and it doesn't have a base. So this is offense, and that's not good. So I would
Okay.
rather see a jump here or
Yep.
here.
Okay.
Also, why are we playing on the nose right here?
I wanted to attack the G11 group
Okay.
and separate, and I wanted to separate it so it didn't join up with
Well, if you
F13.
do
I
this,
thought
he
I could do
immediately
that.
connects. So if you want
Right.
to cut, you need this sequence.
Yes. Yes.
But as soon as you do this, boop, 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 and you can see he just runs down, and that's actually not good for you. But this is
No.
what you're trying to do. I
Yes.
think profit wise, it's better just to play this way
Good point.
and just make the points. But defense first. And now you have to defend, and you want to jump back to your base.
Yes. Yes.
This one looks like you're still trying to attack.
It is. I'm eyeing E14.
You need to block your. This is your base. You need to your eye space, I should say.
Yes.
This is your eye space. You need to block that. Your eye space is worth defending. Yeah. So here, and then you have like 4 in a row almost. Yeah.
I was pretty confident I had eyes at that point.
Yes, but you have eyes with 3 points, and he gained 5 points. And
Okay.
here you have eyes with 4 points, and he doesn't gain 5 points.
Yeah, that's the problem. It's very expensive to make eye space, and I give my opponent so much territory around me when
Well,
I'm trying to make it,
it's
right?
very expensive to get surrounded. Is the lesson.
Yes.
Getting surrounded with your weak groups, your baseless groups, is very expensive because your opponent gets to surround you, and then you don't get to think about how much your opponent gets at that point. Now it's just struggle for life.
Right. Yep.
So that's the problem, is that you neglected your weak group and get cut. This is almost never good. Don't push diagonals. That just hurts you and helps them.
Yes. Yes.
You're alive. Why are we playing on this group?
Why did I play it K14, you mean?
Yeah. So why are we playing in this area? We're not. So White's alive with 2
Well,
eyes.
yes, so now I want to deal with K12 and
So I think
jump across.
I think I found a pitfall that you're doing. You keep trying
Thanks.
to attack your opponent,
Yes, I do.
but
Part of my personality, which I need to put in check.
um, attacking your opponent is more about timing than actually attacking.
Okay.
You can actually get to 16Q without attacking your opponent, with the exception of them invading you. Right? So rather than attacking your opponent, I would encourage you to focus on just defense and big moves. With the only exception being when they come into your area. Because what I'm noticing is you keep trying to attack your opponent, but every single attack that you've done so far has made your opponent stronger, actually. So this
Yes.
move, this move, this move, and this move.
Yes.
All of them gave black more stones, and how many groups have you cut or surrounded?
Not many. None.
Right, so I think you're trying to attack, but it's not working out for you. So rather, how about we be patient? Because attacking, this is not how you attack. This is not our 15Q basics. We learned attacking at 16Q, 15Q, and this is not the attacking basics. It's better to be patient. Just at this level, focus on defense and big moves. Don't worry about attacking your opponent. Don't worry about cutting your opponent. Just play defense and big moves. You will have more territory, and your opponent will likely try to invade. That's when you surround them, and you don't worry about trying to capture or do anything fancy unless they give you the chance to. So attacking is more taking advantage of an opportunity than it is I'm going to do something to you. Like you don't really force the attack. You know, more like you kind of take advantage when your opponent makes a mistake or something. That's kind of attacking at this level. And right now you're trying to force stuff. You're trying to force weakness into your opponent. And that's honestly hurting you more than helping you. I'd rather you just focus on defense and big moves. We can learn attacking after you get defense down.
Yeah. So when I look at that board as it is, I can see that I've got one tiny little area with three spaces,
Mm-hmm.
3 points, and I've given him influence almost the whole way around. So
Right.
I can see that's bad.
And that's because you didn't help the weak group.
Right.
You didn't run with the weak group. You decided to try to go step 3 for eye space before step 2, which was prevent getting surrounded. That's why this got so many. This is overplay.
Yes.
It just dies. Yeah. And now you get cut because you're attacking with weakness. Defense first.
Yes. Yes.
You should be playing. You shouldn't be doing this. You should be, fixing your cutting point.
Yes.
Defense first. Defense first. Okay, so this ladder does work, so that's nice for you.
Yeah, I knew that worked. I checked that already.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Then that's fine. That's fine. But when you check the ladder and you say, okay, it doesn't work, do you also consider the ladder breaker?
Yes, I was watching that, but he didn't do one, so I thought it was safe.
I'm saying the reason I'm saying that is because it's still worth connecting, because the value of the ladder breaker is already profit.
I see.
So sometimes
if he was looking ahead and saw I was thinking of doing a ladder, then he profits by free breaking it, which is to my detriment.
Right.
So I've motivated him to do a move, which is bad for me.
Right. This isn't quite this level. I don't think your opponent's probably clever enough to do that yet. But eventually you will get to players that learn how to use cutting points in various ways. There's more ways to attack a cutting point than just cutting. There's threatening to cut and getting a move somewhere else. There is ladder breakers. There is moving something into a double cut, like something that threatens two things at once. There's more than one way to attack a cutting point. So we defend our cutting points mostly to prevent this. So being clever isn't really ideal right now until you understand more about attack and defense. It's better just fix it. That way you don't have to worry about the problem later. It's very common to forget about your cutting points. Like, let's say we make more changes, blah, 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 blah. Bunch of exchanges. And then he's like, I'm going to go reduce. And you're like, okay, he's reducing now. Now I'm going to defend. Oh, hey, that cutting point activated. Because you forgot.
Yes.
It's very easy to forget at this level. So just fix your cutting points. Just fix.
Good. Thanks.
You're still attacking. This doesn't gain value.
Yes, I am.
And this is connected to a bait. All you're doing is making him connect. So you're actually losing value. You're losing Aji.
Right. Yeah.
And now you're getting too caught up in this area. This is not the big move. You actually have given him points now. You need to play the big move.
Okay.
Largest framework. He connected. Yep. The attack's over. And you're playing Yosei. That's a big red flag. You don't have to...
Okay.
Yeah, you don't have to respond to that. Boom. He goes. Okay, stay connected.
I still can't even play Yosei yet, so that's bad that I did it early.
Let's keep making big moves. Big moves first. And this is why I say don't worry about attacking right now. This one's more important because that's your base. This is actually not a good shape for you. You should be blocking your base and then connect.
Okay. I was worried about that influence toward the center.
Priority, yeah, but the priority is bases before influence. Bases before big move.
Got it.
So if it has to do with your base, that takes precedence over everything else. Now, with that being said, this is actually not a good shape. This is the move. Because if you play here, a 1-point jump on a 1-point jump, whoever wedges first will have the better shape. Because you see how black's connected, but you have cutting points?
Yeah.
So you actually set yourself up for a bad shape.
Okay. Got it.
There is an exception to this, but normally this is bad shape. So yeah, I would want to connect the inside to not the outside because I want my base.
Okay.
Oh, hey! See? This is exactly what I mean. Now you have two problems. Yes. So he is clever enough to do it. Oh, man. So now you have two problems. But he's not quite clever just yet, because if you fix this, this actually fixes the ladder as well. You see how one takes the liberty? So you actually
Yes, I wouldn't have spotted that. I didn't. I can't read ladders that good.
actually, if you want some reading exercises, if you struggle with stone visualization, ladders are fantastic stone visualization exercises. What you can do is set up a ladder on a go board and just
Yes,
practice visualizing each stone of the ladder. If you do that like maybe 5 times a day or one time a day every single day, that will
yeah,
really help your stone visualization. And eventually,
okay,
so like I would set up a ladder like maybe a ladder right here that goes to the corner. And then
right,
the next day I would move it just a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. And then eventually I would go all the way down here and get a ladder right here and read it all the way to the edge of the board. And then maybe I'll start setting up ladder breakers. Like I'll just place some stones around, and I'll say which stone does the ladder run into? Does it affect the ladder? Is that liberties?
yeah. And what about?
Ladders, yeah.
Sorry, you go on.
Well, I was just saying ladders are really good exercises for stone visualizations, and ladder
Yeah,
breakers are really important to be able to read because
yes,
things like this do happen quite often.
yeah. And what about changing direction of ladders? Like, um, I've seen people do that in games, and I thought, my gosh, how did you change the direction?
Um, that's always situational. so,
Okay.
for example, do do do. So I can go here, and it's the normal shape, right?
Yes.
Or I can go here. Ladders
Okay.
don't have to be like steps like this. Ladders are just a series of Ataris. So
Yes.
a good example of a ladder that you would change the end of the step is, let's say it's like this, and white runs. Here we actually don't play here. We normally play here
Yeah, I got it.
because you
Which
push
is
it to the
changing the
edge.
direction.
Which just changes the
Yeah.
direction. Yeah, you push it to the edge. You push it to where you want it to go, as long as it's still
Okay.
an Atari. And if we have to, we can play here. But I've seen a lot of beginners, like there's a stone right here, and they break the ladder by playing this move instead of this move. So you don't be stuck in the direction with the ladder. A ladder is just a series of
Okay.
Ataris. As long as the Atari pushes them into another Atari, it's fine. It doesn't really matter. But
Okay.
technically, that comes with more ladder problems and ladder experience,
Yeah, and
which
reading.
is not. It's not. You're not quite there yet. It's more about
Right.
learn to read the ladder before you start learning how to change directions of ladders.
Yeah.
So yeah. Okay. Are there any other? Oh, actually, I took too long in this game. I'm
But
sorry.
that's right. This is fine. I've learnt stacks, and this has been wonderful.
Okay.
It's not so much the game we choose to review; it's the extra comments that you make during the game that help.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing you want to take is how do I arrive at my answers? How do I arrive at my judgment calls? That's what I want you to take from these. Because game reviews, anyone can review and show you better moves. But with the Clossi approach, I want to clarify it in your head so that way you can use it in your own games and make your own distinctions. So, is there anywhere that is confusing to you or that I need to clarify so that way you can get closer and closer to my judgment or how I'm arriving at my conclusion? Is anything confusing you?
No, you've reoriented my thinking on several key things already this lesson, so I've got stacks to work with.
Awesome. As always, if you need to rewatch the lesson and ask me questions
Yep.
if you have them. Do you have any other questions? We still have a few minutes. Do you have any other questions?
No, that was fantastic. I really appreciate it.
Awesome. So let me go ahead and send you the notes from the lesson. Doot doot doot. Yeah, and then yep, and yeah, as always, let me know if you have any more questions. And if you're able to get the VODs and stuff, right? Because I know the few students have been struggling to get the VODs. Are you still able to get those?
The what? Sorry.
The video, because I know you like to put these on your YouTube channel, correct?
Yeah, yeah, I do. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, I can extract the videos easily.
Okay.
Yeah, and I do that. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I like to be able to do that, and I watch each of the lessons you give me like 4 or 5 times, and I learn something every time I watch it because I realize you said stuff like playing on the line. You've said play on the line or whatever, or you're inside or outside of the line. I'm still not quite 100% on that.
Mhm.
I'm getting closer, but the more times I watch you explain it, the better I understand it. So
Yeah, the
that's why
line of
it's
the
so useful
influence
to
is
have it in a video.
tricky. The line of the influence is definitely tricky. I think you're definitely still struggling with largest framework,
I
but
am.
more and more examples I think will help with that.
Exactly.
But right now, I think the thing that I don't like in this game is you're trying to attack things
Yes.
that aren't really attackable, or you're trying to attack too much. And I don't really care
Yes.
about you attacking until like sixth and Q. I more care about you playing
Yes.
defense and largest framework, because like you said, you haven't learned the lines of the framework yet. So how do you know if a
Yes.
group's weak or not, or behind that line or not, if you don't know where the line is?
Exactly.
So we don't need to worry
Right.
about attacking. We need to worry about training our eyes to see largest frameworks. So don't
Yes.
worry about attacking your opponent until sixth and Q. We need to learn frameworks and defense. That's
Yeah.
that's what you need to focus on.
But as you know, when you teach a kid how to play Go, and I'm looking forward to teaching my grandkids, I
Mm-hmm.
know that the attacking and the capturing is the fun bit. And I suppose
Yeah.
I'm a kid at heart, and that's what I want to do. But I have to be restrained as a mature adult.
Yeah. With kids, I actually have found not teaching them Capture Go works better.
Okay.
Because with a young kid, capturing is so exciting. They're always
It
going to try
is.
to do that until they get to like for like several years they will do that. So I have
Right.
found I actually have a beginner rule set that's basically Chinese rules where I tell them like start on the open corners or start around the dots and expand along the side and like push the borders, and that's what I teach them. Push those borders, and I start with that and I say, look, my area is bigger than your area, and then I say when you're then I like then they try to go in mine or I try to go in theirs, and I introduce them to push it to the edge, like make your area and push it to the edge, make your area push it to the edge. That's how you deal with captures and stuff, and that's how I introduce captures. I teach them how to deal with people going in their areas, and I found that that works a little bit better simply
Okay.
because the area is their first thing that they learn instead of capturing. Because I found that kids who learn capture first actually really like attacking more than anything else, and that's
Yeah.
actually a little bit makes it a little bit harder to get them out of that later as they get older.
Yeah.
So I usually
That's me.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, for very very young kids, I would actually start them on a 5x5 and just teach them how to surround area. Don't do any life and death. Don't worry about anything. Just teach them how to get area, and then say, okay, now this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points to 1, 2, 3, 4 points, and they're probably young enough that they can't really count to 10 yet. So that teaches them to count to 5 and stuff, and count up to 10. And with the beginner rule set, you just pretty much count the area, and then you count the stones, and that teaches them counting, and it also teaches them area instead of capture. Um,
Right.
and that's kind of how that works. And I think teaching a 3 or 4 year old on a 5x5 is a little bit better. And when they get used to that, that's when I'd move them up to like maybe a 9x9 and teach
Okay.
them area as well. And teach them like corner and then edges, and then push those borders, how to push the borders and stuff. And then once they get used to that, I'll start teaching them cutting points. And that's you have to break the steps that you learn into multiple steps for them, because they like
Yes.
I tell you push the borders, watch your cutting points, okay, but you have to break for a little kid, you have to break that even more, and you say, okay,
Yes.
here's the border, so figure out what a border is. Okay, now you want to block that border. Okay, now you want to push the border, and then you want to watch your cutting points and you have to break it all down into like even more steps, because the younger they are
Yeah.
the harder it is, so you have to like simplify it super super simple.
Yeah.
um but I would say start with like maybe Chinese rules, and start them like on a
I
five by
will.
five, and just introduce area first, and that actually encourages them to learn how to count too. And
Right.
make a big deal about it when they do something great. Like for the kids love it when crap like that happens. Like be super energetic. Make it seem like it's fun because you're having fun. Kids mimic
Yes.
fun. So if
Yes.
you're having a blast placing a stone on the board, they're gonna have a blast mimicking you. They aren't gonna
Yeah.
understand why you're having a blast, but they'll have a blast because of your reactions. And
Yeah. That sounds good.
I found that that's the more fun they have, the more likely they are to pick it up again.
Awesome.
That's from my experience teaching young kids.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
thanks, Clossius, for the lesson. That's awesome.
Yep. Do you have any other questions? If not,
No.
then hold on. Let me make sure we actually have you scheduled. I think you're good. No, so I don't have you
So
scheduled.
mid next month, I'm doing once a month.
Okay. But I also have you as I owed you one from December.
No, it's been done already.
Oh, did I already do that? Oh,
Yep.
okay. Sorry. I guess I misread my
That's right.
notes. Okay, then we're
Right.
all caught up. And then, yeah. So, yeah, just let me know when you want the next lesson. Hopefully, you found this helpful, and I will see you when I see you.
All right. Thanks very much, Clossi. Have a
Have a
good
good one.
day.